Struan here. Welcome to June Steak Club. We're doing it a little differently this month. We are at an undisclosed location in East London, Barbecue HQ, and I am here with my great friend Matt. So just to introduce Matt, he is the exec chef at Caravan Restaurants.
Correct, yeah.
A Kiwi, but you've been in England for 26 years?
26 years. 26 yeah, that's years. One more year that I have lived in New Zealand.
There you go. So you've effectively switched over and you're a Londoner.
Absolutely. I'm 100% London.
Afraid so. Matt is an ambassador for Weber and for Yeti. He's also a collaborator for Big Green Egg. And those are just three of the barbecues we're going to take you through today. And Matt's also going to tell us a little bit about that beauty there, which was custom made for him and comes with a good tale as well. So this is Matt's backyard, and Matt is backyard barbecue beast.
Absolutely.
Today.
Do you know what? I love that I'm a beast.
Yeah.
Because that's all I do. If you follow me on Instagram, that's what I love to do. I love cooking meat. I love the whole process about using fire and cooking with fire.
Yeah, it's something, I mean, obviously it is primal, but it's also you're outside. And there's like an element of jeopardy to it as well. It's never quite perfect. And I think that's something we'll talk about a couple of times. It also just doesn't have to be perfect.
Barbecue is not about being perfect, mate. It's definitely not about being perfect. It's about enjoying the process, cooking and burning meat.
Yeah.
You know?
It's the journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely is the
Which
journey.
is what I say when I burnt something or overcooked a really nice steak.
We call it rustic in the trade.
Yeah, okay, great. Rustic. Well, we're going to be rustic today.
It doesn't matter if it's burnt. It doesn't matter if it's overcooked. As long as you enjoy it, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And your friends will be polite enough that they'll just eat it anyway.
Yeah.
So in terms of what we're doing today, we're here for about an hour on Zoom on the webinar. And we're going to start doing the outside cooking, talk you through some really sort of classic outdoor cooking techniques.
Yeah.
Different things. We've got a gas Weber just there. We've got the classic on coals. We've got the egg fired up, obviously, and this has been on all day. When did you start the
10 o'clock this morning?
10 o'clock. Oh, it's a tough life. You have to get out of bed before 10.
Oh, it was horrible. Absolutely horrible.
We haven't got anything in there, but you know, that's like you were saying earlier, that is if you're talking American barbecue, that's what barbecue gets done in, right?
Yeah, so this came back today. It weighs half a ton, and me and my vegan brother-in-law had to carry it down to our garden, which nearly killed us.
Right,
we'll chat a little bit about it later.
But always smoke some carrots in there.
Or celery.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So I got distracted there. Back to the layout for the day. So we're going to do the outdoor cooking. Then we're going to go inside, and Matt's got some great recipes to go with some of the really simply cooked barbecue meat. And that's when we'll start answering questions from the Q&A. But please fire them in. If you can click on the Q&A button or the raise your hand button, and we will start putting your questions in. We'll start thinking about them. If there's anything that's really pertinent to what we're doing right now, maybe we'll try and stop and answer it if it's on the spot. And anything we don't get to, I will get to afterwards on WhatsApp or with Matt or Baz in the next couple of days as well.
Absolutely.
So we're going all Wagyu today, which is a bit of a treat. But the more we talk to the guys on the Steak Club, Matt, it's all about, there it is. There's some Wagyu flank.
Like this is
beautiful.
This is incredible stuff. The smell of this is just like blue cheese, but slightly sour as well.
Yeah, it's nice. It's got like a lactic sort of tang to it, doesn't it? So we've got English Wagyu and Chilean Wagyu. We'll talk through the cuts as we're cooking them, but they're all available in the way that they are in Steak Club every other time. They're going to be online on the WhatsApp group after we finish this. Pretty limited numbers, and running the whole gambit from what Matt had there, the flank, which is relatively inexpensive and, you know, great if you're just cooking for two, to a huge, great slab of short ribs, which would feed 10, 12 people.
Easily.
I thought, you know.
Or me and you.
Or the two of us later this evening. And not to mention, we've got Mel behind the camera here. She'll be manning the questions and wobbling the laptop around in a minute. So, that's it really, Matt. That's the intro. I need to stop talking now, and I want to hear from you. So I think we're going to do
we're going to get into using the gas Weber first. So I'm just going to slide this around a little bit just so I can show you guys what it is. So this is a Weber Genesis. It is just a standard gas barbecue. You've got a sear zone, which is just on this side of the barbecue. And then you've just got like what I would say like a cooler side of it. There's a couple of tricks and tips I want to tell you about this, and that is that you can actually smoke on a gas barbecue.
Yeah, I love this. I'd never heard this before.
And then by doing this, I've got a little bit of oak here. I love beef and oak. I think it goes perfectly together. But I'm just going to place that. As you see, it's quite hot. I'm just going to place that on that side, okay? And basically what's going to happen is it's going to start to smoke, and it'll just give a little bit of that flavor. It's not going to be the same as using this type of smoker, but it's still going to give you a little bit of flavor. So
similar to like if you were putting these are smoking planks in the big green egg, right?
Absolutely,
they sort of like give it a little hint of it on the outside, but it's not smoking, it's still quick cooking, right?
Exactly. And that's what we're going for here. We're going for like a real quick cook it, and to show how easy it is to cook something. So I'm going to start off with the tri-tip first.
So the tri-tip's a great muscle. It is one of the most tender cuts, but I wouldn't go as far as to say it's a hidden gem, because people definitely know about it, but it's a big piece just on the end of the rump that sits down there, and it just has a really great balance of fat across the top and loads of marbling through the middle. It's not a perfect shape, which is why I think it's a little bit of a sleeper, because one end is going to be slightly more cooked than the other as you cook it for the whole time. And Matt, you're just cooking that like a big fat steak. We're going to slice it like a tagliatelle, right?
Exactly. And then that one is just going to go straight into just a real simple mix of lemon, really good olive oil, rosemary, garlic, salt and pepper. So basically we'll slice it, put that one in there, let it marinate up for a little bit, let all those juices come out and soak back into the meat. And then, yeah, we're gonna go to Mouth Town. We're gonna Mouth Party Town.
And what have you got there, mate?
This one, this is the most beautiful tomahawk that I've ever seen in my life. It is stunning. I'm using the Weber probe just so we can see the temperature as it's like cooking. And we probably want to be serving this about medium rare. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I reckon because it's got the great thing about Wagyu, again, is it gives you a little bit of leeway, because if you overcook it, take it to medium, it's still going to be tender, right? But medium rare is spot on. So what temperature are you taking it off at, and what temperature are you hoping it ends up at after the rest?
For me, I want it to be about 48. So I'm going to take it off about 45. It will go up a couple of degrees, but then it should come down to around about 48. Let's hope. Let's see what happens.
48 at its warmest point. It's 48, right? Okay.
Exactly. Good. But you know, again, barbecue is not about like precision, or like you can do it precision, but this is at home, mate. This is what we're going to be eating. So it doesn't matter if it's a little bit overcooked. Don't judge me.
And you don't, if you don't be proud, don't eat something that not the way that you want to eat it, right? If you don't like, there's, this thing of, I like my steak rare.
Yeah.
Or it should be eaten rare, walk through a warm room. That's a joke I make far too much, especially at work. But if you like it cooked through, have it cooked through.
Yeah, I mean,
and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Right.
Like steak is a real personal thing. It's got, especially beef, it's about how you'd like it, not like how it should be done. I've been a chef 30 years, so I've been told that this is the way that you need to cook it, but it's not like how I like it. I like my steak medium rare. My wife likes it well done. That's the way it is. I'm not going to try and change your taste. The one thing that I am going to do, and I would always highly recommend, is cook with the lid down. Okay. Basically, what happens is that you're creating an oven inside. So you want to get that heat inside the meat as well. They're big cuts of meat. So that's why you just want to start with getting those heat on. So what I'm doing is I'm searing the bottom first, getting that heat inside, and then about halfway through, we're just going to flip it, and then we're just going to sear it and keep it through. I'm also just going to be conscious of the sear zones because I don't want it to burn. That tri-tip is a little bit fatty, so you're going to be getting a lot of grease sort of flare-ups from that as well as it hits the bars. So
especially look out when you're opening the lid, right? That's when it's gonna kick out a flame.
Exactly. And when it does that, the best thing to do is burp it. You might have heard of this technique before. So you just lift it, bring it down, and then lift it back up again. And as you see, the flames are sort of coming up off it. Okay.
About 4 or 5 summers ago, I lost both eyebrows and the curly bits on the front of my hair, not burping. I cooked a big, thick sirloin, but the fat hadn't quite got to where I wanted to. So I put the fat back on, closed the lid. Maybe I'd had a couple of drinks and then just casually whipped it open again. scared the life out of half the people in my
Remember, kids, don't drink and drive, okay?
Don't drink and
don't drink and drive.
They should go together, but you've got to be careful.
Exactly.
Okay, so while those are going, one of the things that we've been asked about is cooking dirty style or caveman style. Dirty. So that is straight onto the coals, which is just a great technique. It's really simple. I think it's something that looks amazing when you've got friends over, and it also produces quite unique effects because that temperature right on the coals is so much higher than by the time it's been suspended and it's gone through the air and got to the grill, right? And so I think what you also can do then is get a really, really hard sear on the outside of a relatively thin piece of meat, and then, you know, still have it gorgeous and rare in the middle if you want.
Yeah, you know, like dirty cooking for myself is very about vanity. You know, you want to show off, you want to get there, you want to show your friends that you're cooking directly onto coal, and you know, you have awakened some Neanderthal in you by doing this. You know, you're going to go like big ass bear style thing. You know, I'm big, I look like a bear. It's the barbecue beast, and that's what we're going to do. It's also really key about the charcoal that we're going to use. And Mel, if you could just come over here and I could just explain some of the charcoal that I'm using here. These particular ones are called whittle bricks. Now, they're also known as magic sticks. These can be got from a coal maker called Whittle and Flame. Fantastic things, but they burn super hot and for a super long time. So they're fantastic for slow cooking. They're fantastic for really direct heat of what we want to get loads of heat into it quickly, like dirty cooking. Or if you're going to do direct, indirect, reverse sear. Okay.
Yeah, reverse sear, that's an interesting one. I'd like to hear more on. Oh, hello.
Yeah, that's exactly what we want.
Try and get a bit of that.
Okay, and just much as we expected, that
plenty of fat.
Plenty of fat. So what I've done is that I've just turned off this side, and then I've just got this onto a cooler section, okay? It's okay, it's on fire. It looks a little bit burned. Burn is flavor. Remember that, okay?
That's where it is.
Fire is flavor. Cool. So I'm just going to drop that down for a little bit now, okay?
Where are we at? 30, 35. So
yeah,
still a fair way to go because it's getting that core temperature up, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Great.
Cool.
So for the dirty cook, we've got the picanha, which is going to be available on the website. I'll talk you to a little bit more about these in a minute. The picanha is obviously that cap across the top of the rump, really highly prized in South American cooking, often cooked on as a whole piece. But we're going to slice it thin because it's got amazing properties as a quick cook eating steak as well. So Matt has lent me, he describes it as a sharpest knife. This is a sashimi knife. So Matt, you're right, that's got edge on one side and flat on the other, right? So
exactly.
Perfect flat steaks.
Exactly. So it's the sharpest knife in the world.
Great. Excellent. And we're going finger thick here. Sharp. Couple of these, Matt?
Yep. Please.
Super. Oh, you can feel the heat coming off the Weber. Okay. Bit of salt, chef.
Yes, please.
I'll let you do that.
Fantastic.
I'll let you do the cooking.
Okay.
So you can see the great thing about this Wagyu is just the scorching marbling in it.
Look at that.
Running through there.
It's just going to eat really tender. Okay, so I'm just going to lay that straight on.
And that's it. No oil, no.
It's got enough fat in the meat as it is. Let's just do another one as well. Sorry.
Obviously, you've got to watch your hands here. We're just in these black latex gloves, which will probably melt onto your fingers. And that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
And do you have to, you just keep an eye on it, or do you amend your cooking times because it's cooking in a slightly different way?
Yeah, I would do. I would amend it. I would maybe move it around quite a bit because you don't really want it to burn, you know. You want that fat to be cooking out, but you can see already that you've got a beautiful caramelization that started over there already.
And there's no ash sticking to that. It's not gonna taste the barbecue coal. Look at that.
Look at that one. So you've already got that caramelization, that fat has started to render out. It's like absolutely delicious.
Fantastic. So the picanha we have is Chilean. So that's like a Chilean Wagyu, which has been on pasture most of its life and then had quite an intense grain feed towards the end of its life, which is really where they pack on the marbling, but it's all a natural feed. It's not a compound.
Yeah.
That's the picanha, which is Chilean. The flank, which we're going to be doing in a minute, is Chilean, and the tri-tip is also Chilean. And then we've got an English olive-fed Wagyu, which is really interesting, where they use a caramelized olive feed just at the end of its life, and that gives it like quite a rich umami flavor. Because cows do carry the flesh can carry the flavor of what they eat. So I think, you know, people would sometimes feed their cows onions off their farm and then find that their beef didn't taste quite how it wanted to. So the olive adds something to it.
Yeah. Like in my opinion, these are nearly ready. Yeah. They're really delicious. And look at like the caramelization that's just happening around there on the fat.
Glorious.
And towards the other side, you know, that's just, again, like, you know, this is a real party piece. This is like a real party popper, you know, that you want to just show off to everybody.
Yeah, and it can be done with like a number of steaks. If you haven't got your hands on a piece of Wagyu picanha, this could be done with what? Thin cut ribeye, thin cut bavette, flat iron, sirloin, anything that's a relatively tender, quick cooking steak.
Yeah.
And it's not something to be afraid of either. This is not super high skill chefing. No offense.
None taken.
But you know, it's not complex. And then it's just that's going straight into the marinade.
That's going straight into the marinade. So this marinade is just like lemon juice, olive oil, garlic, salt and pepper, and I've just got some.
Just grab those, sure thing, chef.
And I've just got some rosemary here that I'm just going to douse these in. Okay. See that?
And so while that's still warm and it's not rested before going there, it's gonna pick up some of those flavors.
Exactly.
It's just the liquid stop moving around.
This is what I like to call a board dressing, or it's something that you can just like rest the steak in. It releases all its juices and then comes out. So you'll start to get in here, down here, like all these really delicious juices. And this is that's the key to the flavor of this whole thing. Okay, so let's just pop these over here.
Great, give them a rest.
Okay.
Go up the Weber.
Yeah.
Close that lid. Should I put this?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, we've got a slight fire.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah.
That on there?
Yeah.
All we have. Oh, it's the wood. That's why.
Yeah.
We got any questions in there yet, Mel?
Someone wants to take a photo before slicing.
Of the picanha? Yeah. Yeah, no problem. We can do that.
Okay.
Yes, perfect. Looking good?
Yeah, that's right.
Really good. Excellent. So I tell you what, we haven't done that yet, and that is my bad organization, is have a little peek at the short ribs we have.
Yeah.
So no fire there, but plenty of smoke.
Yeah.
So what was the format for this?
So this was just basically salt and pepper. Okay.
Okay.
Salt and pepper. I laid up the eggs. So for those people that own eggs at home, you would put in a layer of charcoal down the bottom.
Yeah.
Then I put in a couple of chunks of oak, and I smoked it for about 2 hours. Then I wrapped it, and then it's been on all afternoon at about 90 degrees.
So that's interesting. So you're only smoking it to get that, you know, the sort of crust, the bark on the outside for a couple of hours, and then you're wrapping it again to keep it moist. So it's not going to get. Is it going to get any smoke at that point?
Well, no, because what you want now is just the cooking. You just want it to cook the whole way through. So you don't want it to take on too much smoke. The beef is brilliant, and it's an amazing vehicle for taking on smoke. But sometimes it will become quite acrid.
Yeah.
If you over smoke it.
Yeah.
So,
and I suppose the advantage of this stuff, again, this is so marbled. I think some people get a bit frustrated smoking on their big green eggs. Certainly customers that we've spoken to, they come in and they buy a piece of brisket.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, you watch every barbecue show, every video on YouTube. And unfortunately, as much as I love British beef, traditional pasture reared British beef brisket just will never, it's never going to smoke like a USDA corn fed or pasture reared and then hard corn finished.
Why is that? Is that just because it's the way it marbles? Okay, sure. Yeah.
So cows marble, a farmer told me this once, they marble front to back, top to bottom. So you might get that sort of intense marbling in the point end, like the navel end of the brisket, but then it fades, and the brisket can actually be quite lean, and that's why traditional British pot roasts and that sort of thing are wet cooks, lid on wine or beer or stock and vegetables as well, because they need to keep the moisture rolling. So that's why this Wagyu, it is a bit of a treat, but it does exactly what it says on the tin in terms of like that marbling. Yeah, I mean, that is
like,
ridiculous.
You need to come.
That's going to come apart.
That's just going to pull apart. It's just so.
It smells amazing.
Yeah. And it's only got a light smoke on it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's only just a real light smoke.
And it'll have that little red ring just around the inside on the way through. Now, a couple of the guys on the Steak Club group asked, how do we get past the stall?
Yeah.
So I'm not familiar with the term, but you must be, as a barbecuing connoisseur. What does it mean, and how do we avoid it?
So basically, the stall is a part of a long cook. So especially like short rib, feather blade, or brisket, comes to a part where all the muscles and everything have tensed up. Okay. It's squeezed out all its juice. Okay. And it's just got fat and collagen.
Yeah,
like
connective tissue.
All the connective tissue just sticking up. So it's basically that point where it relaxes and you've cooked it, and they just start to soften and just get like less stuck together, basically.
Okay.
So on a brisket, that stall could be 2 hours. It could be 2 or 3 hours. On a short rib, I would say it'd probably be about 40 minutes. And on a feather blade, I'd say it'd be about an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it just tenses up, not good eating at that point.
No. Generally, you know, how I would always check it is I would always just like press my thumb on it. And it will have quite a bit of resistance. You know, you saw on the short rib that had literally no resistance. No. I could put my thumb straight through it, and that's what you're sort of looking for. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's just a case of persisting with the temperature.
Yeah.
Don't lift the lid too much. Don't poke it too much.
Exactly.
Believe.
Exactly.
If you build it, it will come.
Exactly.
Get it right. Okay. Grand.
Okay. I'm just going to pop this one on here just to help finish up.
Okay. Great. That is looking
beautiful.
Absolutely. And this is another thing. You can tell that Matt is a consummate professional because he's cooking with a bit of a temperature, but he's mostly cooking by touch. You know, and it's an easy thing to say, but a hard thing to do, right, mate? To actually tell people, you'll know when it's done. Just give it a poke, and that's fine if you've done your 10,000 hours in a kitchen on the grill. So you know, I use a meter at home sometimes. You've got that built into the Genesis as well, and it's a safety net.
Yeah,
right.
So what I always go for, and it's a trick that I teach all my chefs, is the palm method. You've probably heard about this. So using your forefinger here, pressing it here, and I'm sure that everyone is doing this right now. That there is rare. Okay. If you take the middle finger, and I'm sorry, but you know what I mean, and you put that in the middle, that's medium rare. Okay. And the last one is well done.
Yeah, I can see what you're going for there. There's
rare,
very little
medium,
give
well done
right at that point.
Exactly.
Well done. I guess well done is almost like that is when something like the brisket gets to the stall. It's cooked through, but it's not had any chance to give out again afterwards, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, my tip is if you have to make something well done, if you're cooking for someone who's been really cautious and pregnant, or you've just overcooked it because you got carried away on a conversation, slice it a bit thinner.
Yeah.
Put lots of sauce on it.
Exactly. That's the best one.
Okay.
I want to try this.
Yeah. So we're gonna...
Is it time for us to
have you got photos as requested? Excellent, Mel. How are we doing for time? Quick check, because then the last thing we've got to do is right. We are right on time. We're doing okay here, mate.
We're not bad.
Who knew? Pair of amateur. Well, you're not an amateur. Matt's actually appeared on quite a lot of cooking shows and television.
Absolutely.
But it's me that's the amateur. Right. So talk us through this.
Okay. So this now, like, look at that. That is just like absolutely perfect. And you definitely have to have the first
chef. Thank you.
And just tell me what you think. Okay, that was cooked dirty.
Mate, there's a real contrast, isn't there, to that high intensity caramelization, that Maillard reaction on the outside, that gives it that big hit of umami. And the great thing about the picanha, it doesn't totally give out. It's way more tender than a regular rump steak, right? But it's just like,
I think
you hit your mouth and bite into it, and it pumps a bit of that Wagyu, that like juiciness into the mouth.
I think, like, for me, picanha needs to be like medium rare, which is what that is at the moment.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it like let out all its juices. You've got some lemon in there, and that lemon has balanced out a little bit with the fattiness of this picanha. And I think it just, yeah, it's perfect. And
just the richness, right?
Yeah,
just a little bit, especially with that the sort of the, you know, the height of the garlic as well, sort of balances it out. Yeah, grand. And the fat is taken on what we were talking about, what our favorite fats earlier. And Matt's a big lamb fat lover, and I would always go for the pig.
Yeah,
but you see here, it's even in that short time, it's rendered out a little bit of the fat, but it's left it with a nice crust on the outside. I mean, for me, that's killer. And I love the rosemary as well.
Yeah,
actually, I thought it doesn't dominate it. Gives it something. We should put the
absolutely
flank on. Sorry, talking with my mouth on. Thank you, mate. That's wonderful.
Let me get this one. So I'm just using Maldon sea salt, you know, but you can use any salt that you want to. I would always recommend a rock salt or an unrefined salt.
Yeah, no, not the ones with the anti-caking agent, not your cheap table salt.
Exactly.
And where are you on when to salt? Because I bought, you probably watched Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, and I really love that show. And it's incredible. But it was interesting that, you know, you can salt early and brine it.
Yeah.
But you're salting literally just before it goes on the barbecue?
Always salt just before it goes on the barbecue. Okay. That's the way that I barbecue. But again, it's a real personal thing. Like, you know, some people like to salt afterwards. My wife doesn't like salt at all. So I would always just do what is your personal preference.
No right answer, right?
Yeah, there isn't. I mean, and again, with barbecue or with meats, it's a real personal preference. I like my meat burnt. You know, some people don't.
Yeah, I love that crust on the outside. I like the contrast. You know, if I'm going to have something slow cooked, but I suppose I'm slow cooked like in a stew, I don't necessarily always brown it before it goes in. Sometimes I'll just plop it in. Mostly because I'm very lazy.
You rebel.
Well,
what are you doing?
I can't remember what I was watching. A lot of Asian cooking. It just sort of goes in, and it doesn't need the.
Because like I suppose all the stuff comes out of it, and it's delicious.
Yeah.
You know, like the blood and the fat and everything. So you're not rendering down. And I think that's an old school sort of French old school cooking technique to brown everything. And just again, it's that Maillard effect. You're trying to get all that flavor into your stew.
You're layering in the flavors,
yeah, exactly. Right? But it's not important. It's like personal preference. You know? What I did want to talk about is this.
Yeah, sorry, mate. Please.
Yeah. So basically, I had a dream. So I'm from New Zealand. So
I'm from New Zealand.
I am from New Zealand. I'm part Maori, so it means half of me wants to drink, the other half refuses to pay for it. Please. So I have always thought, how can I recreate a hangi overground? So a hangi is the traditional Maori way of cooking underground, usually for celebrations. Okay. So they take volcanic river stones, they heat them up in fire for half a day, and then you put them at the bottom of the pit. You'll put some banana leaves on top, and then you'll put your food on top, and then you'll bury it. Okay. And you'll leave that food for like half a day till about this time, until it starts to get a little bit dusk. Then you'll undig it, and then you'll eat it.
Food there.
Mate, there's a lot of work. They're really, really hard to do. So I came up with this design in my head, and just, you know, talking to sort of some other Maoris back in New Zealand about have they ever heard of something? And there is sort of like small designs out there, but I was in a field at a festival, Black Deer Festival, a few years ago, just before the pandemic.
Often where all the best ideas strike me, but I can't remember them by the time. It's very lucky. Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. So I was having a chat to a guy who fabricates large barbecues, and I said what the design was, where fundamentally it was a firebox down here, which is where all the fire goes. At the bottom here, you would have volcanic river stones, which would heat it up. And then what you'll do is that you'll spend a few hours just heating up these volcanic river stones. Then you'll put your food on the racks, and then you close it up And then you just let it steam. And as the food cooks, it will release its juices, come down, hit the volcanic river stones, and steam the food. Yeah, with the fire as well of giving it a little bit of a smoky flavor.
Yes, you've got little holes in the side, right? So some of the smoke can get through.
Yeah.
So that's not, I mean, that's a cooking technique, not a million miles away from like a tagine, is it? Where it's got that sort of shape where the water condenses and then
dribbles down back into there. So yeah, fundamentally that's what it is, you know. And then during lockdown, that's what we did, and that's what you know, we cooked for hundreds of our neighbors and family and friends, and you know, I probably ate way too much barbecue during that time, but
there's no such thing as too much.
Yeah. But yeah, it was amazing.
And you can do anything in there, right? You can
absolutely, yeah. I've done like fish, I've done meat, I've done lamb,
chickens. You can like roast the chicken in there.
Chickens was amazing. I think like the most amount that I've had in there was 20 chickens. And it was that outstanding. They become this really dark mahogany color. And I generally smoke with oak. Apple's a little bit too expensive, but yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, chicken, I think, you know, we don't really delve too much into chicken at Steak Club, but cooking chicken, whole birds on the barbecue, obviously there's a sort of beer can technique, but I roast chickens in my big green egg, and I've actually managed to do one in a gas weather, the hot side, cold side, because there's so little airflow compared to your conventional fan ovens, right? They stay super moist.
Yeah.
And even though it's a very lean meat, it can kind of stand up to heat. How's that feeling, Chef?
Oh, it's like feeling beautiful at the moment. I would say that one is quite rare, but this one, yeah.
That one off?
Yeah. I definitely think that one should be off.
Let's get that one rested. Perfect. Look at that. I'm tempted to grab the bone, but it's a bit warm.
It's going to be slightly warm at the moment.
Okay, so we're just going to wait for
it's waiting for this
blank to get the other side, and then we're going to step in and there, maybe do some question and answer.
Absolutely.
And you can take us through some of these recipes you've got for you, mate.
For sure.
Fantastic.
Okay. So what about like where can I get this? Like, I know that this is like a Steak Club special, but where can I get this?
Well, so
can't I?
You can.
Okay.
You can. No, everyone can. So we generally run a bit of the Chilean Wagyu in all the stores, various cuts. If you speak to the team, they'll be able to grab something for you. But you know, we have really great flank steak just coming through from our grass-fed traditional English beef suppliers. And I mean, I guess we're cooking with Wagyu today, and it's a special occasion at Steak Club. But all of these techniques work really well across the board, I guess. Other than the brisket we were talking about, but you could do an English short rib the same way you're doing these short ribs. But you know, the flank is just such a simple, versatile cut. It can stand up to this fast cooking that you're doing here. It's quite often found in stuff like Cornish pasties and that sort of thing as a slower cook. And
it's one of my most favorite cuts, along the side with picanha, just because it's got so much flavor in it.
Yeah, and it's like you cut the tenderness into it.
Yeah,
right. Because you've got those long strings running that way. There's actually a South American dish where they keep it whole and they eat it like they shred it but keep the strings long as well, so it sort of sits on the plate all curly, almost like a piece of spaghetti.
Matt, someone wants to know about your mats under the barbecue.
Oh yeah, that really good point. So that's if I drop any fat on a very expensive patio that my wife paid for to get done. So
you might need a couple more mats.
Yeah, exactly.
Cover up the bits.
We've got a few ones here, but yeah, that's just to make sure that it catches any spillage or anything that comes off it.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
and that's a Weber one, and then obviously you said you grabbed that one off.
Yeah, on Amazon. Yeah, that was like, I think I got 2 for 20 quid. So it's about £10 each. Yeah,
great. That'll do.
Someone put flank as my preferred cut for Chinese stir fries. I'm Chinese.
Amen. Yeah. Delicious. Honestly, I've got I've just bought a wok. I've used woks quite a lot in my career, but it's like changed my wife's way of cooking. She absolutely uses it all the time. She cooks rice so it goes old, basically, so she can do stir-fried rice. It's her favorite thing at the moment.
So leave it for the next day.
Yeah, she always cooks the rice and leaves it for the next day. I said we should be eating it fresh. But
the problem I have is they're yet to create, unless someone knows of one, a wok that works on an induction hob.
Yeah,
because it needs that sort of those licks of flame coming up around the outside.
Yeah,
I guess you could probably, if you're feeling brave enough and you had a decent glove, you could probably stick a wok on an open.
yeah,
fire,
like these
right?
here are amazing.
Is that a wok?
So you
Oh,
can
is that a wok?
you can remove that,
Okay.
and then yeah, you can basically put your coals down there.
It's a good reason for me to buy a second barbecue.
Weber's and Big Green Egg both do that.
I do.
Yeah, they both sell these attachments.
Okay.
Yeah, and they both do woks as well.
Great.
Here you go.
There we go. Well, I mean, I'm quite jealous of your XL Big Green Egg. I'm only rocking a medium.
Yeah, I've definitely put this through its paces, but.
So tell us a bit more about what you did. You said you were cooking during lockdown. You ended up feeding a lot of people in your local community, right?
Yeah, it was like 200, 300 a day. So I obviously was gifted this, by the guys at Smoky Oak Barbecue, and I started just practicing with it, and I had quite a bit of barbecue left over. So I started like sort of handing it over the fence to my neighbor and saying like, do you want some? And then he was like, well, we had a street WhatsApp group, and he's like, why don't you put it into there if you have so much over and just sell it for whatever you want to, get it away from. So I basically put it into the group, and it just went viral basically. We started one WhatsApp group. We had 250 people join immediately. Then we had to start another WhatsApp group. We had another 250 people join immediately, which was terrifying. So I turned my home into a commercial kitchen, and my wife wanted to leave me. She wasn't happy about it, but she became the operator.
Got you out of the house for a few hours every day. Even if it's only to the garden.
It certainly did. She became my operations manager.
Excellent.
Logistics, and I was the chef basically. But yeah, it was great. Like, we were actually, serving a lot of celebrities that we found out lived locally around us and that, but not to drop any names like Noel Fielding and
great.
And Barrymore.
And a lot of fun. That keeps you busy, right?
Exactly.
What are we taking off here next?
Yeah, I think that we should take.
We can come back for that if we want to.
I think that we will, but I think
we're going to cook. Slice pretty quickly, right? Because we're making the cheesesteaks with it.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then we're going to take these ones off as well. But after that.
Look at that. Beautiful again. And you can still see the lines you got running down there. Those are the lines you need to cut across when you're cutting this sort of steak, because actually you need to cut the tenderness into it. But you'll be able to see that marbling when we get in there. I'll give you a hand with anything, chef?
No, it's all good. Let's go.
All right, we're in. This is where the magic happens.
Welcome to barbecue heaven.
So going this first?
Yes.
Great. Flank first. So I feel like Wagyu flank. It's like a best way to describe, because it's a versatile functional cut. It's not particularly flashy, but it's kind of elevated by the fact that it's Wagyu. I feel like it's like a gold-plated Land Rover Defender that we're eating today. It can kind of do anything, but it's doing it in style, especially as it's going into like your classic. So, tell us about this, Matt. Actually, while I cut it up with what's she called?
Princess.
The Princess.
This is Princess the knife. So I'm just doing like a take on a Philly cheesesteak. So I've just got some fried onions here. I've made up a real simple sauce of ketchup, mustard, and mayonnaise. It's under here, and chop some pickles. And then I've got this cheese that you guys all know. This cheese is shit cheese. That's
excellent.
Right. It's the worst cheese possible, but it's the best for this type of sandwich.
It's a tool for a task, right? That's
like, look at that. That is just absolutely.
Should we eat a little bit just before we put it in there?
Oh man, for sure.
There we go.
Yeah, I'm just definitely
cheers. Oh, got a lot of flavour, hasn't it? The flank. It's not shy. Do you need to do the whole thing? Are we making all of it?
Yeah, why not? Let's go. There's 3 of us to eat, so I'm just going to pop these here with the onions.
This thin, is that all right?
Yeah, that's perfect. I'm just going to mix these up. You just give me a couple more slices. I think it should be enough. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to mix these up with the onions. Okay, just to slightly heat them up, and then I'm just going to place.
Yeah, so we slice this without any resting. And that's because we want it warm in the bun to melt a bit of the cheese, right?
Yeah, exactly. This is just going to be absolutely next level, guys.
All right, we got any questions there, Mel, while we're cooking and talking? See if we can multitask. None yet. Guys, if you're watching live, not watching the video, please fire away with any questions you might have. Otherwise, I'm going to have to keep bending Matt's ear. We've been hanging out together all day, so we've already talked a lot about family and life and food. Now, you were telling me you haven't ever been to America, so
no.
That's what I mean. The Philly cheesesteak. What, you know, where have you eaten a great Philly cheesesteak?
Well,
that have you inspired you to come up with this sort of stuff?
I was involved in a street food business where we did Philly cheesesteaks, and our first one was at a drum and bass festival called Hospital Barbecue.
Oh yeah, I know, Hospital Records.
Yeah, Hospital Records. Yeah, they're really good friends of mine. So they invited us down to do some Philly cheesesteaks, and we did, and we were so busy. We're doing drums and bass and barbecue and bass.
Excellent. Man.
Yeah.
What were you using? What meat were you using there? Because you must have been doing big volume.
Yeah, we were. We were actually using flame.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, but we had already pre-sliced it, and we had sort of like a plancha. So we did it on there, and we put the onions on. It was done like a proper Philly cheesesteak, and grated the cheese on, and then scooped it up and popped it.
So it's melted. Exactly. Up into like the hoagie roll and this sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that's not far away, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The advantage with doing it as a whole steak and slicing it is you can guarantee that it's going to be rare.
Yeah.
Right. Hard to do on a plancha.
And I think that that's the most important thing. But like, we need to try all this.
Yes. Okay. Pickles as well in there.
Yeah. You got pickles,
great,
shit cheese, and a soft bun.
Yeah, it's a soft bun. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Man.
You know, simple flavors, but for the beef just elevates it, right?
The best meat with all of these ingredients, my God. Like, you guys can come around anytime and bring Wagyu.
No, I live quite pretty close, mate, so you might find me stroking your cat in the garden of a morning, being like, come on, mate, we need to fire up the big green egg.
I just have to tell you, my cat hates everyone apart from my wife. And it loves Struan. I don't know why.
I turned up with lots of meat. That's probably what it is.
Probably, yeah.
Probably thought I'm going to get in here.
Okay, there's a question. What's more important in your opinion, crust or internal temp? How to get the best crust tips, please.
Okay. Do what I did. Put a really fatty piece of meat into the Weber and let it burn. That
on the back here, Chef.
Is a crust. Okay.
That is a crust.
That is such a beautiful crust, and I think that this is the next steak that we're going to prepare. Now,
I think you know, be scared of that though.
Yeah.
If I, you know, sometimes I see it on my barbecue and I think, oh, I've messed that up. But as long as it's not, you know, black across the top, as long as it's not like deep black, like burnt toast.
Yeah.
Right? You're not.
Absolutely. But like, that's also going to be all the flavor. But if you can see here, you can be pressing down on this. This is like going to be a beautiful medium rare. Absolutely stunning. Yeah, exactly. And I'm just going to put that over there.
Okay.
And then you're gonna slice this and pop this straight into this marinade, which is the same marinade that we did with the.
I think it's a really nice thing, the idea of having, especially with the Wagyu, especially with something so rich, the acid to cut through it, right? So, I mean, what other sort of acidy, you doing something like a chimichurri or something like that?
The chimichurri is a classic. As you fully well know, one of the first times that I met Struan, I cooked a barbecue outside, and again, I set fire to the barbecue at Provenance.
You've got form.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Actually, Matt's going to blow my cover here because I put a thing on the group the other day saying my top tip for chimichurri is to keep stirring the sauce back in. And I think, do you know what? I genuinely misremembered, and I thought I'd seen it done when I was on the beach in Brazil. So, I mean, which is, you know, where I was eating steak and chimichurri, but it was you. And I had like a sense memory when I saw you. So I let you down there, mate.
You have let me down.
I let myself down.
And what we are going to do with all of this, that once you've sliced it, I want you to lift that. I want you to lift that up and pour all that. So lift up the whole board and pour the juice into this, because that's going to
just so we can get a bit more of the spinalis.
Yeah.
So this is the interesting thing for me. You've got that big, large muscle there, and the pink, just as, you know, the ribeye, and then the spinalis dorsi around the outside, which is, I'll pop it off just for this. I mean, it would be very hard to be able to buy just this because you'd have a lot of sad looking ribeyes, but this piece of meat for me,
oh my god,
just that section there,
that is, yeah, that's my favorite part.
Go on, chef.
Yeah, cool. I thought you were saying, yeah,
that you have that bit.
I'm gonna have,
that's why I've got the big knife. Be careful.
Oh, man,
Something about the cell structure and the fat, you can see in comparison there, it's
just got that perfect chew on it, right?
Yeah, got a little bit more to it. You're right. Don't be afraid of a crust like that, because it's worked spot on.
It does, right?
These ones straight in?
Yeah, just straight into there.
And all of those juices as well.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. And then we're just going to use those.
Chef. I mean, it's just a great tip to, you know, that's flavor.
Yeah, that's right? All your flavor.
And mouthfeel as well, I guess.
Yeah,
to it.
Exactly. I'm just going to pop that one there.
Yeah. See, this is what I can't do. I can't make it look as good as you do.
This one is going to be for us, okay? That's our chef's treat.
That's for the cat.
Yeah, that isn't for the cat. That's going to be for me. Okay?
Beautiful.
And that's it. But like, even if you look at that, it's not burnt, okay? You've just got like some crust on the outside, but look at, it's just perfect on the inside, medium rare.
So to answer that question,
yeah,
crust is more important to you than internal temp?
Flavor is more important to me.
Okay.
And flavor is crust. Okay. So, you know, super high heat, super high heat. Get that crust working. It's a particular scientific thing called the Maillard effect. I think you guys would have heard us talking about that. Is where all the sugars start caramelizing around the meat. So that's a super important part.
And that's your umami, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so something like this, when we're talking about this is for the olive-fed Wagyu.
Yeah.
So that enriched diet at the end of its life, which, you know, there's a big argument about meat that's pure pasture reared and meat that has had a feed at the end of its life.
Yeah.
I love pasture reared meat. It's a very different thing. You kind of have to cook it in a different way, but something like the caramelized olive feed or a grain feed or even oats or barley and that sort of stuff, it's like a little cheat code to extra flavor, right? It presents more of an opportunity for the cook because it's got more fat in it, which is where you're putting the flavor out from. That's the important thing. And people always say fat is flavor.
Yeah.
Don't be scared of the fat. And, you know, sometimes people can be confronted with like a big chunk of fat on top of a sirloin. That's not necessarily pleasant eating, but the intermuscular, the intramuscular, right? The stuff that's going to caramelize. That's bringing the big beefy flavors, and then the meat is bringing the tenderness and the contrast and the texture.
I've just been learning about grain fed and grain finished on grain or finished on grass. What's the difference? It's all beef.
Yeah, well, pretty much in the UK. Pretty much every cow you're going to eat has definitely been on grass at some point, normally for a couple of summers, depending how old it is. And then there is the pure pasture way, which I have a lot of time for, and is by far and away the most sustainable and the least input.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a right way or a wrong way, or
much the way you were talking about how you cook on a barbecue? There's no right way or wrong way. There's different things for different applications. So this is going to sound a bit overthought. Yeah. But I think the middle ground is about right. I mean, you know, stuff that's had pasture and had a bit of fat. Pasture reared beef, you know, animals taste of what they eat. Yeah. And so if it's had a very natural diet, you're going to get those sorts of flavors. If it's just had a mono feed of corn, you're not going to taste them very much. But it does have that corn-fed, like USDA corn-fed beef has this huge upfront, fatty, flavoursome punch. Yeah. But then I think it fades quite quickly. Like there's not a lot of what the wine industry would call legs, right? Or like a longer mouthfeel. It's very, it's Aerosmith. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
exactly what you mean.
And grass-fed beef is Pink Floyd. So it's not necessarily going to like grab you, kick you up the arse, and get you on the dance floor.
You might not be into it, but do you know what? It's nice.
Yeah, but if you put your headphones on and you really listen to Dark Side of the Moon, there's a lot more to it than Toys in the Attic.
And then at the end, that will change your life, and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, and kind of on the other side of it, if you had to take one of those two albums to a desert island, you're taking the Floyd album, right? And I think pasture-reared beef is complex. It's great for the environment. It's great for the producer, and it offers a wealth of possibilities. But I don't know. I'm pretty agnostic about it. And sometimes something that's had a bit of grain finish is just what you need. Have a mix of everything. Yeah. Like you can't eat cake all the time, but you can definitely eat some cake sometimes because of life without cake.
Yeah.
Life without cake. Can you imagine?
It's a horrible.
I don't know how we got to cake, but we're about to eat something. Got a really healthy base here. So what are we making?
We're going to be making short rib and kimchi paste tacos, basically.
I'm super excited about it.
So like, I just wish there was smell-o-vision. I wish that you guys could smell this, because the smell on this is just incredible.
I'm going to get that tri-tip.
Yeah.
No, cut it.
Like, it's just absolutely beautiful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for it to run, but we're going to slice this down. I'm going to place these onto here. We've got a little bit of mint. And then in this recipe, it's super simple. So we're going to use Korean chili flakes, some coriander, rice vinegar, ginger, garlic, and some soy sauce. And I also put a little bit of palm sugar. But if you can't find palm sugar, brown sugar. I'm going to give all these recipes to the good people of Provenance, so they can upload it into the group and show you how it goes. But please, you need the honor of slicing this. Okay?
No, you can do this one, mate, because you've been with it all day.
It would
be just want to watch.
My honor. So I'm just going to go straight in the middle. And there you go. What you can see there is a smoke ring, okay? So that ring just shows you how much smoke that I smoked. And I didn't smoke it a lot. I just did 2 hours worth of smoke, but you can smell it.
Yeah, you can, absolutely.
And let's see.
Just going to shred.
How that is. And that is just like, you can see that, guys, right?
Yeah. So much fat, but not chunks of fat. Just sort of stuff keeping those little strands of meat separate.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's super rich, right? These are pretty big bits of meat, but you're not going to eat, well, most people aren't going to eat like 300 grams of this. You can just have some little bits
and that one is for you, my friend.
What you're about to feed me.
I am going to feed you. I'm on camera. There you go. It could be a little bit hot. You got it? What do you think of that?
I mean, I'm in love. That's incredible. No. I mean, obviously the meat. And it's like incredibly tender. You do get that hit of smoke off it. And it's amazing. I thought you were going to put like some sort of rub on the outside. So that's just salt on the outside.
That's just salt and pepper.
But it's got so much to it.
Yeah.
But with that, I'd have never thought to use the fresh mint leaves.
Yeah.
Which again works really well with it. The freshness of that chili sauce, actually, despite it looks sort of like quite dark and imposing. But yeah, that's unreal.
I just think it just looks so delicious.
But it's not the hardest work in the world, is it? Right?
No.
If you're monitoring your egg, or you've got your meter in there, you can go about your weekend.
Yeah.
Someone wants to know, how would you get the flavor into a less fatty cut, like a whole fillet / tenderloin?
Oh, that's a question.
The smoky flavor. Well, I guess you could do that technique that we had right at the beginning of the video, using a plank on like a gas barbecue or something like that, or smoky chips.
So I probably would do what we would call a reverse sear. I know that some of you would probably know what that means, but generally what it will be is that you would have the charcoal onto one side of your barbecue, and you'll put a couple of chunks of wood on, and basically you would start off by cooking the fillet on the opposite side of the charcoal, okay? And what it does, it just takes on the smoky flavor. So you probably want to do that for about, I would say 5 to 7 minutes, but make sure that it's quite smoky. And then you would finish the fillet directly on the coals. Be careful because it will overcook really quickly. And I know that I said that you can cook it however you want. I think fillet needs to be at least medium rare anyway.
Yeah, that is the one that you can just walk it through a warm.
Exactly.
I mean, because fillet's what's in a steak tartare with no cooking at all.
Yeah,
right.
I think that fillet is, it's delicious. You know, it was one of those cuts that I probably started to learn on before I ever really got into different cuts of meat, because you do that. And I suppose back in the 70s, like, you know, when I first started getting down, I'm really showing my age here. When I first started cooking, you know, fillet was, you know, the main thing to do. So,
well, it is a classic. You know, it is beautifully tender. Can be cooked super quick. Yeah, it is good, isn't it?
My God.
And I think you know, a lot of people want the fat and the flavor, but
yeah,
there's a time and a place for a fillet. I mean,
yeah,
like I made a beef tonato instead of a vitello tonato, and just, you know, had it like a piece of fillet carpaccio, and then with the tuna sauce. And at that point, eating it cold and sliced thin and rare,
yeah,
it wouldn't be so good with a ribeye. You couldn't imagine doing it with a brisket or something like that. It needed the lean, it needed the tender. It's when you're trying to eat a fillet like a ribeye,
yeah,
you're not going to get the right what you're so keen on.
Exactly.
Looks absolutely cracking.
These little crusty bits at the end, which
is a little burnt end.
Yeah,
I guess, are they?
Yeah, exactly. Will be okay. Just fatty.
Okay. Someone wants to know with the fillet. Continue on that question.
Yeah.
To get a crust, it's possible, but you should be careful not to ruin the middle. I wonder if any tips how to make it easier.
Again, I would say super hot grill to do that very quickly and very fast. It's all about heat, and as long as you've got a really long pair of tongs and good tongs. Okay, I see these horrible cheap barbecue kits that you buy, and I'm not saying that any of you own any of the stuff.
How dare you?
Yeah, please just invest in a good pair of long tongs, okay? They've got rubber handles. Make sure they're not metal, or you're going to be giving yourself third-degree burns on it. And it's all about heat, okay? Heat and airflow. That's what you need to worry about. A lot of people, I was talking to Struan about it earlier on, and a lot of people cook with the lid up, and then they were like, oh, I need to add more charcoal. Then that drops the heat and stuff. Always cook with the lid down, okay? You're going to preserve your charcoal. It's going to get a lot more hotter, a lot more quicker, and you can regulate the temperature better.
Yeah, I think especially with like, when we were using the gas Weber and the coal Weber out there, like, I was genuinely wary of how hot it was getting, you know. Like, you know, you can feel the heat coming off it. And a part of that is patience and planning. You know, you can do it with a gas barbecue. You can come home from work, turn it on, and it will be roaring pretty quick. But you've got to wait for your coals to get hot. And you're also going to have the problem that you get unpleasant flavors from coals that aren't fully cooked. Like, they're still kicking off their sort of initial burn.
Exactly. White hot embers. That's what you're looking for, okay? So on any barbecue, it's white hot embers.
Now, speaking of that, coals. It's worth investing in good quality kit. Look, good quality logs, you know, or what we're using in the Whittle.
Whittle and Flame, you know, arguably one of the most sustainable British charcoal makers. Okay. They are absolutely fantastic. But you know, you've got a lot of other brands out there like
Oxford Charcoal.
Oxford Charcoal are very good. You know, you've got you know, Big K. You've also got Weber that does the briquettes and stuff. So you know, there is a lot of options out there. But you know, for me, I'm just like, and I'm a Londoner, so I'm like, stick with British. You know, it's great. You're supporting, you know, industry.
It's sustainable as well.
And it's sustainable as well, and no carbon footprint. You know,
I mean, I'd be tempted to say, you know, we're both lucky enough to have big green eggs.
Yeah,
but you can do it on a really simple Weber drum barbecue with decent coal and a bit of knowledge.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think it can be done. And you don't have to be a great chef. You don't have to fully understand the science behind it. But
I started on a Weber, and you know, I had a small Weber Master Touch.
And
exact
one. So it's like everyone's first barbecue.
Exactly. and they are just like the best barbecues ever. Like, I'm lucky enough to have an egg and the largest smoker and stuff, but you know, the Webers are just perfect. Absolutely perfect. You've got a small garden, Weber. You've got a barbecue, you've got a balcony, Weber. Just like, you know, that is for me one of the best ones.
Okay, so we've got the tri-tip here with on that touch test.
Yeah,
that's just, it's giving back a little bit. I think you're right to leave it on there for a little bit longer.
Yeah,
and that is really dark, and I go as far as to call that gnarly.
Like, listen to that. Listen to this, guys. Yeah. That's what like you're after. Toast. Yeah, exactly. It's just like burnt toast. Okay. But you're going to slice that bad boy.
Take this bit off, and then we'll go in there.
Oh, just look at that.
And it's a different texture again. I mean, this is like a great piece of roast beef, right?
Like that. It's just stunning.
I mean, you wouldn't be disappointed if I was slicing a fillet here. It looks like it's got that sort of like perfect medium rareness. And that smells, I'm getting the smell of it from here. Remind me again what we've got in there, Matt?
Right. So I've just made like a little bit of a different sauce. So this is just a walnut sauce, basically. So it's just garlic, mint, coriander. I've got some walnuts in there. I've got a little bit of sherry vinegar and some olive oil and salt. Okay, it's something just a little bit different. Now, I wanted to stick along the sides of this beef is quite nutty. So the walnuts really add to the flavor of it. So I'm just going to put this around in these little sort of beautiful roses just around.
I mean, look, I don't know, Mel, how well the camera's going to pick this up. Sound like I'm on an infomercial. But, you know, there's the marbling in there, and then these little pockets of fat that you get with Wagyu that even in, you know, well marbled other meats, it doesn't quite carry it in the same way.
Yeah.
And that's just like, you know, your teeth hit it and it just kicks out a big bit of flavor.
Oh, just
right?
Yeah.
And super tender. But different again.
Completely different flavor.
You know, that's got like got a Sunday roast vibes.
I guess. I'm getting like top side.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just it looks that sort of shape, but similar texture. It's quite a fine grain.
Yeah.
And that's got loads of applications, right? If you want with a tri-tip, you can just slice it into little rounds and fry it as steaks, like as a little tornado.
Don't be afraid that if something looks burnt, it's not. This is where all your flavor is.
Yeah, there's nothing there, right?
You know, how do you think that we used to cook our meat? How do you think that we used to start off? The Brits, the British, God bless the British, started by roasting their meats over fire, okay? They were the first to master this. You know, you've got so many chefs that hero this across the beautiful British Isles. You know, you've got the Acme
Fire
Cod. They've just started, like British guys that are just cooking everything. You know,
the guys at Temper with the big open fires.
Absolutely. And then you've got like Heston Blumenthal, that he was doing all of the roast meats and stuff. Honestly, guys, like it is delicious. You need to try this.
Mel, any more on the questions from? No? Okay. Cool. Right, I'm going to eat a little bit of this sauce.
Yeah, actually, you need to try that.
Take a half bit.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
there you go. And let me just give you a little bit of sauce on top there.
Please, chef.
You need to try that. And then Mel, this one is going to be for you.
Shall I feed Mel?
Yeah, please.
Come on.
Come on.
We're having fun here.
Yeah.
In the camera. Is there a bit of chili? Is there a bit of heat in there?
There is a slight bit of heat. Yes, there's a little bit of jalapeno.
Ah, that's it. Yeah. Great. Yeah, it's a really, I mean, because it is actually green, but it's got like a lovely, grassy herbiness to it, which cuts it really nicely as well. So it's really interesting. You put together 3 different sauces, all of which cut through, you know, the big dominant flavor of fat in a different way.
Yeah,
but complement it. They're not clashing against it. They're sort of bringing a bit out of it.
And that's and that's what my style of cookery is about. Like, you would read it on a piece of paper and you'll be like, wow, that doesn't go together. But it's about complementing the meat, the cuts, the beef, the fattiness. Yeah, a lot of thought went into these menus.
Yeah, mate, I've no doubt. But it looks effortless. That's the thing. That's the thing. And then, you know, not a single marinade on any of the meats that we cooked today, right? And I think
straight salt.
It's the star of the show.
Yep.
Even in its most barbecue at its most basic, and I'm talking English barbecue here, I'm talking drizzly afternoon, warm cans, and you know, like a pretty simple setup. The meat's the star in all of this, right? And so if you focus on that crust, that umami, getting the core temperature right when you're cooking steaks and that sort of stuff. And what I would describe the way you cooked the short rib is very sympathetically.
Yeah.
You know, to playing to its strengths and not pushing it too fast, too quickly. That's the star of the show. And once you get that down with pretty simple techniques, then these great sauces and salads and stuff can elevate it. But so can a bit of Dijon mustard.
Absolutely. You know, yeah, exactly.
Well, a bit of shit cheese and some caramelized onions. Absolutely. You know, it's two ends of the spectrum.
Yep.
Great. Thank you, mate. I'm going to take a hug off you.
Thank you. Amazing.
Thanks, guys. I hope you had a nice time. I'm not going to give Matt a one-man round of applause, but as you can see, he is an absolute dude when it comes to barbecue. If you have any further questions, drop us an email, put them on the WhatsApp. All this stuff is going to be live in a few minutes. And as usual, Steak Club Elite, thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, mate. That was really enjoyable.
That was awesome.
It's a lot of fun.
Apart from catching my butt.